Today we're going to be taking a look at 75403 Grogu with Hover Pram. This set just released on January 1st and is the biggest and most expensive 2025 LEGO Star Wars set so far, with 1,048 pieces and a retail price of $100 US, which is a bit expensive, although I'll talk about that later. One thing I do want to say though is that I'm honestly impressed that The Mandalorian is still popular enough for LEGO to be making sets like this from it 6 years after it initially released. I don't know, it just shows to me that not all the Disney Star Wars shows are that bad. But anyways, as you can see here, there's not much going on the front of the box, just a nice little render of the set. Same thing on the back, where you're gonna have a picture of Grogu out of his pram, as well as a few images of the play features and functionalities. Now opening up the box and digging in, on the inside you're going to find 11 separately numbered bags, as well as one instruction manual for Grogu and then one instruction manual for the pram, and a small little sticker sheet containing 6 stickers. And one funny thing I wanted to show while I was building this set is that in the middle of Grogu, there's this tiny little green heart piece that gets covered up. I just thought it was kind of funny how it's a little Easter egg representing Grogu's little green heart, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And speaking of Grogu, Grogu himself is the only figure that comes in this set, and as you can see here, the actual figure is just the same Grogu we have been getting for the past 5 years now. I'm sure most of you guys own this figure. There's not really much to see here. His pram, on the other hand, is a little bit different. It's a bit smaller and just a bit sleeker and smoothed out, which I honestly think looks pretty good. And then obviously, since this is a buildable character, it's going to come with the printed display plaque. You can pause and read this if you want to. There's not a whole lot to see here, but it is kind of interesting. But now moving on to the actual build, it looks surprisingly really good. Now one thing you might notice is that Grogu himself is actually way too big compared to his pram. As you can see here in the back of the second instruction manual, there is a picture of Grogu and his pram from The Mandalorian, and as you can see, Grogu is significantly smaller than the actual pram itself, but then in this build he is way bigger, and this might bother some of you guys, but honestly it doesn't really bother me at all, just because I think it still looks good. Taking a look at Grogu himself, it is a very small build, but I think LEGO did about everything they needed to on it. His ears can move slightly up and down. I wish they pointed up a bit more, but the range of motion they do have is good, and then his head can also slightly move side to side and turn around, all this allowing for you to make some pretty decent poses with him to put his ears down and give him that cute look and everything. Now I have seen some people online talking about how his face looks pretty uncanny, and I definitely see where people are coming from with that, especially with those printed eyepieces, but I don't think it's as bad as people are saying, because I think for the most part LEGO did a good job on his face. On the back of his head there's really nothing to see, but what you might also notice back here is these 2 gear pieces sticking out of his back, and this is a great play feature because basically you turn those and it just allows for you to easily move his arms up and down. It's a super simple feature that I'm not even sure was needed, but I do have to say it's unique and pretty fun to play with. His hands are very simple. There's just 3 fingers on them, but they do have inverted studs, allowing him to hold some items. Here you have the knob from the Razor Crest, and then over here you get 2 Navarro nummies. That's what it says on the plaque. But by far the best inclusion in my opinion is the little Sorgan frog. It's a very simple build that just has a sticker on the back and a printed eye, and his legs and arms can move around a little bit, and then he just sits flat on the ground. But for some reason, to me at least, it just looks so good when Grogu is holding it in his hand. If you ever find yourself picking up this set, this is such a great way to display him. On the bottom, you can see that his feet are kind of there. There's just some pieces representing that they're under his robe, although I wish they stuck out just to one plate, because I do think it looks kind of weird how he just sits completely flat on a surface. In my eyes, it makes it look a bit incomplete, and I wish there was just a tiny bit of elevation from his feet sticking out. It would make it look a bit more natural. Now taking a look at the pram build, despite it being too small like I showed earlier, I'm actually pretty impressed by it. I think LEGO did a great job on the shaping, although I do have to say it was a pretty repetitive build. Anyways though, on each side here you're going to find some stickers, as well as some yellow pieces to add some details, as well as another sticker right on the front, and then also on the front here you can get just a good look at the shaping they were able to pull off. It looks great in my opinion, and they used some pretty cool techniques to pull off this look. The back of the pram looks good too, although unfortunately there is this pretty noticeable gap that goes right across the middle between where I guess the hood on top meets the actual top of the bowl. It is pretty noticeable, but besides that, this back area looks really good. And speaking of the top portion that I called the hood, I don't really know what else to call it. It's pretty good. The main portion of it, as you can see here, is just 2 large pieces that are connected together at the top with some clips. Although I do have to say, for the price you're paying for this set, I do think LEGO should have included some type of feature where this portion could actually open and close like it does in the show. The stand on the bottom that actually holds up the pram is very simple, just a little black base pretty much, and as you can see here, it very easily comes off just a little Technic pin that holds it in, as well as some studs. Taking a look at the inside of the pram here, there's not a whole lot to see, but I think LEGO did do a good job. There's lots of great shaping in here, and the brown really does add a nice contrast with the white. And there's also some very minor details towards the back at the top, as you can see here. Now those 2 1x2 pieces in the middle right there is actually where Grogu goes. You just very easily sit him in there right on top of those 2 pieces, and this is the full look of the build. And in my opinion, this is such a great display piece. I know most of you guys are not interested in this set at all, but for what it is, I think LEGO did a really good job. There's multiple ways to display it. I love the inclusion animation of the different items, especially the frog. It's just super unique and looks great. Although unfortunately, I do think it's a bit overpriced because the build isn't very big. It's $100 and the build feels like maybe an $80 or $90 build. And again, I think for $100, it would have been nice if there was some functionality with the actual Pram itself where it could at least open and close. So because of those things, I'm feeling a solid 8.8 out of 10 for this set. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing. And if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see the link on the screen right now.